messages I'm just going to record now. So it's Matt Giggs, and I am with the lovely Donna Ashworth. Now, Donna has put this book out there, well timed, really. History will remember when the world stopped, and didn't it stop this time last year? And it's poems from a pandemic. And I got given this book, it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, by a good friend. And she loves the fact that, you know, I'm fairly philosophical about things. And she dropped this into me. And I read it straight away because it's so easy to kind of get through. And you really connect with some of the poems. They sort of stand out for you. So, for example, at the foot of the mountains, the bit that I've just kind of gone on to today. But the side hustle. And why are we here today? Well, we're here today because I think self-education has to be a priority in life. I only realised it in my mid-30s. I had some challenges in my my late teens when I lost my brother and various different things. And, you know, I think kids are being taught and conditioned to think that it feels like there's a lot of anxiety and pressure at school to perform in terms of results for subjects that are outside of yourself. When the number one subject today that I think we all need to master, and I include me as a 45-year-old dad of 3, I need to master my mind and the way I think and behave and understand myself more. So self-education has to be a priority, not just at school, but in life. And that's what the side hustle is going to be. It's about raising awareness, and can we together get self-education to the top of our curriculum in the UK. That's my dream.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Thank you. And I think
I would love to see your dream come true.
Thank you, Donna. And so what I've done, I message people that inspire me on platforms such as LinkedIn, Instagram, where I spend a lot of my time. And I made a rule for myself this year, Donna, where I thought, I'm going to tell people who inspire me that they've inspired me.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a great thing to spread around.
And how do people know? I think a lot of people assume that if you are somebody who you think is inspirational, that they will also know that they're inspirational, or they will know every time they've inspired somebody, and you don't know. You just.
Well, I messaged you. I think it was Mother's Day morning, and I said, "Oh, it's fantastic," you know, and I really did. And you come back to me, so it made my day, and you just thought, well, I'm glad I've made someone's day, you know. And actually, it just takes you back into a moment where you go, we're so powerful as human beings. And words are super powerful.
Yeah, they are.
And how we perceive them is super powerful. And that was when I thought, you know, I'm going to have a bit of courage. I'm going to ask her if she doesn't mind giving me her thoughts about self-education, but almost give me an idea of your journey from school to where you are now. So do you want to just give me like a brief?
A brief, I'll try to be brief. I think I'm one of those personalities who feels everything too much, overthinks everything, looks into everything far too deeply, and that can be a rocky road if you're like that. Every day you look around you and you think, why is everyone else just doing it? Why are they all just doing it without stressing out and worrying so much? And, you know, why is it so difficult for me? So I had my own struggles as a teenager, and my mum was brilliant. And she sort of got me into, at the time, self-help books. And Louise Hay became a big focus for me, because she just taught you how to look inward and watch yourself from the outside, so that you could not become a part of the noise. Get out of the noise, look back in, sort through the noise. But totally saved my life, because I was very anorexic as a teenager. So, you know, I'm talking about serious issues. So I think then, having moved through my 20s and 30s and started to write in magazines, I had my own magazine that I just created out of nothing. I then started to write more, and out came the sort of poetry and the introspective writing. And now that I've got an audience, I've no idea how it happened, just one of those things that happened. It's a wonderful place to be, because I can put something out and it will just fly on a little journey around the world, attracting people that need to hear it. And then it creates ripples that go on and on and on and on, and create so much. And I'm especially interested in the teenagers and the kids, and how you just throw them out there and go, right, you're brilliant at English and maths, there's life.
Off you go.
And you know, you spent all those years thinking, I must be able to write a great essay and do the algebra. I judge myself on that. And we're not judging ourselves on humanity and, you know, how we're going to move around the world and interact with everyone, and how we are going to do it from our personality point of view, and how we're going to make that work for us and not kill us at the same time, because we can't all go on the same treadmill. You know,
No,
we don't
not.
get on it. So I'm very interested in what you're doing.
Well, we're two totally different people, but we share some commonalities. Like, I grew up with a mum that couldn't love me anymore, but she couldn't worry anymore, right? She was like, if there was worrying and like 10 out of 10 worrier, she was like 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
You might, I don't know whether you're probably younger enough to remember, there was a thing called the 3-ring rule. We didn't have mobile phones back then.
Yeah, the 3 ring
You'd go around your friend's house and you'd have to ring home let it ring 3 times, and your mum and dad knew you were safe.
Yeah, and now when you get home.
That's it. We got to 1 ring, and my mum would pick it up and check if I'm okay. You know, she was a constant worrier, but she's a lovely person. But I definitely learned how to overanalyze and overthink and kind of spend a lot of my time almost in fear of moving forward. And, you know, I go back now, like I just said, to when I was a kid at school, and those dilemmas about fear and thinking about yourself and how you'd see yourself compared to how others do. And I just thought, you know, when I read through this, Donna, well, can you just, first of all, there's so much gold in here for different people for different reasons, but what inspired you?
I had a poem that went viral right at the beginning of lockdown called History Will Remember When the World Stopped. And it went all over the world, and it brought a lot to my door, and it was recorded by celebrities, and it was wonderful, and it was a message of hope. So I decided that with that bit of confidence I had at that point, that I would just put all of it into a book. And I rushed it out because obviously lockdown was just a couple of months. And I published it in July. This year. And since then I've written 10 times more pandemic poetry because we're still here. And I think I might have to go back and update it or do the sequel, because the emotions that we're now feeling are totally different. You know, we were so gung-ho in the beginning, Dunkirk spirit, we can pull together, we can do this. And then we were out, then we were in, then somebody was out, somebody was in, and, you know, one county was in, and then everybody started to sort of resent each other. And then there was, you know, and the guilt and it was a fascinating social experiment to watch and to feel myself what, you know, we were all going through. So yeah, and then I published my other book straight after it, and it's called To the Women. But I think you would love it, because I write for women, because that page on Facebook, that it's really for anybody. It's totally for anybody. And I think you would enjoy a lot of the ones in there, because they're very much about the daily, you know, how we progress and move and stay afloat and keep that equilibrium.
Absolutely. And I mean, history will remember when the world stopped. I mean, do you mind if we just share that quickly, just whilst we're chatting? Because this was like you say, it's the inspiration. History will remember when the world stopped. Have you got it in front of you?
I have.
Because I think you saying it would make more sense than me saying it, bearing in mind it was your words. So can I let you read that for us? Because this really triggered it off, didn't it?
Of course you can. It definitely did. History will remember when the world stopped and the flights stayed on the ground and the cars parked in the street and the trains didn't run. History will remember when the schools closed and the children stayed indoors and the medical staff walked towards the fire and they didn't run. History will remember when the people sang on their balconies in isolation, but so very much together in courage and song. History will remember when the people fought for their old and their weak, protected the vulnerable by doing nothing at all. History will remember when the virus left and the houses opened and people came out, hugged and kissed and started again, kinder than before.
I love that. I love that. And that kind of like from start to finish we yet to see the full closure of the situation that's gone on. But I think if you're open to looking at more than just the news and actually looking out there for the good that's going on in our societies and our communities, a lot of people will resonate with.
People were so kind at the very beginning in that first sort of 3 months. It was really inspiring to see. I became a volunteer. And so I spent my 3 months shopping for people and getting the prescriptions and things like that. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. And I could see everybody doing things like that on a daily basis. And people didn't get angry in the beginning, or everybody just went, right, what can we do? I'm going to sing online and cheer you all up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to help my neighbour. And that is what happened. But it changed as time went on, of course, because you get tested and torn, and then you're dealing with the longevity. You know, they say it takes 6 days for a habit to become your life. And one of the recent poems I wrote was that we've been in this situation now for over 365. So we have changed. We're all changed. Our psyches have changed. Our realities have changed. We are now different. And you might not even know that, but we are.
Yeah, totally. And going back to the child, the kind of the teenagers in us, you know, I mean, you obviously had some challenges that you just touched on at the start of this this interview. I get a sense from a local school teacher that we spoke to, in fact, the head teacher of a local school, certainly for young ladies, there's been some real challenges around, I don't even want us to talk about this, but I think it's important that we do, but like self-harm, self-image.
Yeah.
If anyone in that place has a daughter, or, you know, has a real connection to this part, what advice would you be kind of giving anybody that's going through those self-acknowledgement challenges, if you like, at the moment?
It's a really difficult one, and I think a lot of parents and people are afraid to say the wrong things, afraid to make things worse, afraid to stir up, you know, the hornet's nest. But you cannot do that from the outside. All you can do is try and keep talking. One day it might just chink through, keep providing things to be read, keep pushing people that have been there and can give some practical advice. There is never anything you can do to make it worse, except for hurt that person, which you would never do, because the whole point is you're trying to help them. So you can never help in a bad way.
No, definitely not. And I think one of the things that you just said about talking, I was just doing an Instagram video a couple of days ago. It feels like I've spent 12 months walking.
Yeah, me too.
And talking. So, you know, I'm walking with different people, hundreds of people over the last 12 months. You know, my meetings are now outside.
Yeah.
It's been not only good for my own fitness, but there's so many reasons why walking is good for you, but you're moving forward and you're communicating at the same time. You know, relationships, every great relationship benefits by great communication. You know, a successful relationship is about successful communication.
But I think it's hard to communicate with teens and people who are in that place.
Yeah.
And I think people are flawed by great communication. Any communication will help, you know, push that along or keep it in the same place at least. And one of the poems I wrote recently was called Tell the Teenagers, and it went to actually a lot of schools picked it up in America as well, and put it in their yearbooks and their, you know, their publications, and did videos for all the kids to just sort of, I think the teenagers do get left out a lot because they're quiet and they're difficult and they're complex, and therefore, oh, they'll be fine when they're not teenagers anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not making it out of teenage because of that. So we can't get away with just saying, leave them, the hormones will sort them out eventually.
Can you share that one with us now? Because I'm going to put this into 3 videos, and I think this would be a really cool part of closing the second part of this. But that's totally going to resonate for the school, the teenagers, like you said.
Yeah, I do think it is that they can be left out a little bit sometimes.
I think it's easy to
don't
lead.
say, do we?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I know you.
here.
Go for it.
Okay. Tell the teenagers that this will not go on forever, that very, very soon their life will begin again, and it will begin in glorious technicolor. Tell the teenagers that they are not being left behind, that all the other young people are waiting too. This is collective. Tell the teenagers that night is darkest before dawn. So if they are feeling extra hopeless right now, that's because it's coming to an end soon. Tell the teenagers that it's possible to feel utter despair and misery, then for no apparent reason, to wake up the next day and to suddenly feel joy again. We don't know why. Don't believe anything to be permanent. It's not. Tell the teenagers that we may not understand how this is affecting them, but we can imagine and we can worry. We don't know what to do for the best, but we are here. Tell the teenagers that one day they will look back on this and realize it made them a far better human somehow. They will seize the moment, face the fears, and take every opportunity with open arms. And when tough times come, they will remember how they survived. Tell the teenagers to find a little purpose every day and to hang on to it like a life raft. Anything, no matter how small, can keep you afloat. Tell the teenagers that what they're enduring right now is not fair, it's not easy, and it is hard. But great things are coming if they can just hang on and wait. Wait just a little longer.
It's absolutely spot on. And for anyone with teenagers, they'll totally connect with that. I'm absolutely convinced. And tough times, you know, create tough people, you know, in the nicest possible way. Not to get too quotey in this particular video, but having lost my brother when he was like 21, you know, and going through the process of trying to cope with all of that, I know I've kind of become who I am today. I've built the strengths today around going through those situations. And I think many people should hold on to the fact that, yeah, this is a challenge right now. And do you know what? We're going to come through this.
Yeah. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, you know, what they are particularly experiencing is rubbish, really bad, because they are in that point of their life where they don't want to be indoors with their family. There is no positive there. They want to be going out into the world. Everything within them says that. And they must be feeling like caged lions. But another thing that bothers me is the word resilient and the way that people say it makes you more resilient. And it does, but it only makes you more resilient if somebody takes the time to work through that with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen. You don't just go into trauma and come out resilient. You come out damaged.
You need tools, don't you? Absolutely.
Resilience is handling it,
yeah,
processing it, and then coming out better for it. And they can't do that if nobody says, first of all, this is hard, it's horrible, it's rubbish, I see it. Yeah. And then I think that's the doorway in. If we keep saying, oh, it'll be fine, you know, it's not fine. And I think that's where the disconnect comes.
I think that acceptance has got to be, that honesty around it is so important. Like, do you know what? And I think what I'm seeing now with mental health being huge, and it's only going to snowball into a big conversation that's going on, because it's so clear that it's obviously been attributed to mental health as suicidal stuff for guys in their 40s, or, you know, generally speaking, you know, midlife crisis kind of mode. It's not. It's through the different sexes. It's through the different age ranges now. And mental health is something that is very individual and very, very controllable to a degree if you've got understanding, kindness, tools, offers of advice, support. You know, there's so much going on around people that when you're in that place, you don't see it, do you?
No, of course you don't. But I mean, we teach our kids how to control their limbs, you know. This is how you make your body do gymnastics. I was a gymnast as a child, and I learned how to make my body do things that other bodies couldn't do.
Yeah.
Bonkers what we can do with our minds. But nobody tells you how to do that for your thinking, or for the way your body connects with your brain, or the way stress affects you physically. Nobody tells you how to control that. And I don't get it. If we started with that, the English, the maths, and everything else would just follow. But
it's so great to hear that you share the same beliefs as I do, because I think if you're looking to make an impact in the world today, then it has to start in here. You know, so I run 8 different companies, and for me, it's about, you know, and everyone, oh, you must be really busy. You must be really busy. Yeah, it's definitely busy, but for me, to get a grip on anything that I'm working on, I have to get a grip of this.
yeah.
And if I get a grip of this, what I'm on about is when I'm feeling stressed or situations happen or you hang on to the past or you're looking too far ahead, being aware of these things is the greatest place to start, isn't it? It's just like awareness is so important. And I think
you do so much more damage if you're working outside of that zone.
Yeah, you do. You don't understand. You're out of control.
Especially if you have a platform, the things that you say when you're not coming from the place that you need to be coming from, you know, can be damaging to your business or your brand.
Definitely. And tell me, because I want us to go on to At the Foot of the Mountain at some point, because that talked to me, and I thought, well, while I've got you, I'm going to see where that came from. But with regards to your kind of like, you know, was this like your first? You've always been into poetry.
I'm not into poetry.
So what happened? Talk to us.
I like to write, and I like to. I just like to write. I like to make poems. I don't even know if a lot of them are poems or if they're essays.
It's just feelings and thoughts.
It's just words. It's words. Yeah. And I'm a big believer, if you put the right words in the right order at the right time, there is nothing it cannot do. And I think when you take away human connection, like has happened with us all in the last year, words have suddenly come all the way up. Because what else have we got? We can't read eye contact very well, or body language, or so words have become super important, and my following has gone up a lot. And that's because of the lockdown. So I just think words, they build a little bridge from one soul to another, and they say so much in a short, you know, piece. That I think poetry will make a comeback now after this.
I think you're probably right. I certainly feel that, you know, because obviously we're in a day and an age of typing and you know, texting, etc. And that actually one of the things that I've found really helpful to me is journaling. So I've got endless black books, grey books, where I'm writing all the time stuff that's going on, thinking, thoughts, ideas, creativity. Plus I'm looking at, you know, things that I need to do. And it's great when it pulls itself out of here and onto a bit of paper, because sometimes you can feel overwhelmed, can't you, when you're doing so many things. I mean, everyone says they're busy, right? Everyone's always busy these days, but half the time it's because we've got this device in our hand that's got everything going around in it. You've got emails, you've got messages, Facebook, Instagram, this, constantly on the go. And I think writing's a really good outlet. So it's interesting that you said you're not, you know, it's not necessarily poetry for you. It's just an expression.
I don't own a poetry book. And if you'd have told me I would have been a poet, it wouldn't have been a huge shock to me, because I have always written poems and songs, but I wouldn't have thought there would have been an audience for it until now. And it's really, really wonderful. But I hate to journal, and I hate to write anything that isn't going to go into a poem. They come delivered and packaged. So every morning I wake up, I have a coffee, and the poems go on the paper. And they just arrive somewhere in the night. And I made a deal with myself that I would never rehash one or go back and look over it and say, what do people see in that? It would come out, I would spell check it, and it would go. And I stuck to that. And you know, I know that you're talking about the poems that are in that book, but I've written so many more that are so poignant right now in terms of where the kids are at and where the teenagers are at with this stage of the pandemic. And it is different.
Can you tell us the name of those books just before we move on to the next part?
They're not in a book yet.
Okay.
But To the Woman is a book of all my big works, but it's life in general. It's not pandemic. But I have written a huge amount of pandemic related stuff because it's where we are, and the whole world is there. Even the people that are not in lockdown anymore, they're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in my life that the whole world has experienced something at the same time. We've never been in a world war.
No,
We've never been in a world crisis. And I never thought we would be. And here we are, you know, and now we know what that feels like. And when we get out of it, we are going to look back on it. And I wanted that little book just to say that's the story of that first bit when it was such a shock. But yeah, we'll all go on so much further after this.
100%. So, at the foot of a mountain, tell me, do you have any idea where that came from? What brought that out of you?
Yeah, so one of the biggest tools I've learned how to cope with is not to look at everything when you're worried. Do not look at the whole big picture of why you're worried and stressed. You've got to take it one tiny little thought at a time, and you've got to park the rest. And if you don't learn how to park the rest and deal with each one as it comes, then you become overwhelmed. It's really simple. So, you know, the metaphor for that is if you're looking at a whole mountain thinking, I've got to get up to the top,
yeah,
overwhelming. You have to just look at the next ledge and think about how that's going to feel when you get there, and then each time. And it's a really simple way of dealing with a huge amount of worry.
I think it struck me because in life that a lot of people are goal orientated, or they've got big things that are worrying them, and a lot of the time it's like they're standing there watching the scoreboard and they're just waiting for the, like you say, it can be very, very overwhelming if you're thinking about the big goals or the big things or the big challenges or worries. Well, if you just go into that mindset, and I'm just going to read this one if you don't mind.
I'd love
Donna,
you to.
When you're standing at the foot of a mountain, don't look too far up. Don't look back, just keep looking ahead. Climb that mountain one tiny little chunk at a time, my friend. And when you want to take a break and rest, sit yourself down and look around at the view. I love that bit. Because here's the thing, the best view is not just at the top. If you look, you will see that there's an amazing view of your little kingdom at every stage of that climb. You just need to know how to see it. Take it all in. Breathe in the clean air along the way and stop to smell the roses. You can't rush this particular mountain, you see. It's a tricky one with peaks and cliffs, with torrential paths. But if you take it bit by bit, my friend, you will get there. We will all get there. So start each day with a new spring in your step and make the most of each little peak. It won't come overnight, but it will come. Keep thinking of that day. I love that. That really stood out for me, that one, when I kind of went through the book. And
I've read that one in ages, actually.
Yeah, it really does, because I think in life, you know, there was a saying that I've done the 3 peaks. Do you know what the 3 peaks is? Yeah. I've done that, God knows, 4 or 5 years ago. Brilliant thing to do. But if you looked at the top of the mountain, you really did. You got disheartened. You would stop and just almost be in fear of the climb.
Yeah.
And there was a saying that I read before I'd done that climb, and it really helped me. And that was, you know, mile by mile is a trial. Yard by yard is hard. Inch by inch, it's a cinch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the metaphor matches that, you know. And it's enjoying the inches, enjoying the steps, and also, the journey.
If you're building a business or something, I think we don't ever stop to look at how impressive it is, just because it's not reached, you know, a peak that might match someone else's on social media, or, you know, you still created something or whatever it is that you're doing. And if you can detach enough to see it with fresh eyes, you're proud of it, you know, and you're really quite impressed. And then that just gives you a bit more positivity to do the next little inch, and each inch is as good, you know, as the one before. And then you get to a really big point, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. It's just higher, that each of them are as good as each other. So it's a good reminder.
It is a good reminder. It's focusing on things we can control.
Yeah.
And absolutely taking some time to appreciate what that moment we're in feels like.
And also taking a break. Breaks are so important.
Yeah.
I maintain you can do so much damage on a day when your body or your mind is saying take a break and you don't.
Yeah.
That's the day where you make mistakes, you hurt yourself, or you know, you've got to know when a break is necessary.
I think you're inspiring, you're inspiration. Thanks for your time today. People can find you on Instagram, as I did.
Yeah, most of my audience is on Facebook because it's
Facebook.
shareable content, so it works on.
Just go to Donna Ashworth.
No, it's the Ladies Pass It On.
The ladies pass it on. Right, brilliant. That's the best place to find this lady. I advise you just connect and resonate and understand, and I think share more of this beautiful work. So thank you so much. If you hold on, I'll just wrap up with you afterwards. Okay. Thanks very much for your time today, Donna. It's been fabulous.
Thank you for having me. Bye.